You're ready, we are. All rise. Moment of silence. Narky, if you'd lead us in prayer.
Father, may you grace cover each aspect of this meeting. Make this a safe place for people to express their opinions and a place where ideas matter more than titles. We pray for those who have lost their lives and those helping to save lives. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of preparing accurate written minutes. Recordings are overwritten following approval of the minutes, eliminating all unofficial records of these proceedings. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held January 25th, 2024, noting the change to agenda number 24-040, Liquid Fuels annual report for the unencumbered balance of $190,178.43 should be $190,815.11.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes. Are there any guests here concerning county business? Hearing none. Move on.
The proposed 2024 budgets. A motion to present the proposed 2024 budgets of the estimated expenditures as follows. Operating funds budgets expenditures totaling $59,369,977. Capital projects funds budgets expenditures totaling $4,452,584. Special funds budgets expenditures totaling $8,156,441, and make the budgets available for public inspection in the Office of the County Commissioners, Carbon County Administration Building, Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. until February 14th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes. I would simply state, so everyone is aware, the budget is proposed with a 3/4 mil tax increase. The tax rate for general purposes will include a 0.8 mil, and the tax rate for debt purposes is 0.05 mils. That would increase your overall rate by about a little over 6%. It's approximately $75 on 1,000 of assessed value for each year. It increases our general fund tax revenue by $1,289,845, and it decreases our debt service tax revenue by $80,000. That would be an increase of an overall budget tax revenue by $1,209,230 in comparison to our originally adopted budget that was presented at the beginning of this year. The general fund budget is proposed with expenditures exceeding revenues by $4.2 million and change, $4.2,019,841. This amount is covering the beginning balance. That compares to the original budget that was addressed with a operating opening deficit of $5,346,937. So the new budget with the tax rate, we were able to cut the deficit at the opening of over $1 million. Some of the changes in the general fund that have come up that were not in the original budget, and it should be noted, is that we implemented raises back in January 2023 that were approved by previous boards and not funded. We were able to settle one contract that would ASME Professional. That one is done. Those two items being finished up, that cost the taxpayers the county an additional $190,000. We currently have five contracts that are still out open, still being negotiated, and we are still working through those balances, and what is going to be needed to finish those budgets and get them negotiated is not included in the budget. There is obviously some room there in a contingency, but as you can see, we're trying to hold on and get some money there. The other point to be made is Rocky and I did discuss the 5%. If we were to add an additional 1.5% to that original 3.5%, it would have cost the taxpayers an additional $191,000. That was cut. That we did not do. The other thing that we did is, it should be noted that the other thing that has cost the county some tax money over this budget from past budget is there's numerous tax appeals that are out there. You have heard Wayne speak constantly about that. I did have a meeting with our attorney, Robert, and he informed me of the number we have. That does cut down substantially on what kind of tax revenue we are generating coming in. Not included in last year's budget. There were 2 roofs that need to be repaired. Those 2 roofs were the Penn State Extension campus at Mock Chunk Lake, and the Lansford District Magistrate's Office needs a new roof. That was not included in last year's budget. Also not included in last year's budget was the court's drug and alcohol allocation for a drug court coordinator. That was an additional $37,000 that was not budgeted. So when we started to look at this, both Wayne and I will allow the rest of them, and Rocky, you all heard that number of 3 mills, 2 mills, 2.5 mills. We worked very diligently to bring that down, to get it under a mill, and be able to cut the deficit that we are borrowing from year to year and carry that. I know everyone knows it doesn't take rocket science to figure this out, but we do have a $10 million bond or a $10 million line of credit that has to be taken care of somewhere along the line for this open space. If we continue to operate in a deficit, I don't want to tell you what that does to your rates. Any financial person would tell you that that's just going to increase the bond percent, or it's going to increase your rates. So if we can show that we know how to handle money and pull money down and not operate so far in a deficit, that gets us a better rate. So and believe it or like it or not, that $10 million is going to have to be paid for back by the taxpayers. So if I can figure out a way, or we can figure out a way to get that deficit down, that means you're going to pay less in interest on $10 million. We continue to run on a deficit, you're going to pay more on the other end of the table. The other thing we looked at is we did look at how else do you increase, because we all agree that we cannot continue to balance this budget on the backs of the taxpayers or on the employees. So we did look at the increasing areas that we can move. One area we'll be seeing coming down is we have agreed that we're going to be increasing the parking lot fees on weekends and holidays. That proposal will be coming before us in the next few months. The reason we are doing that is there's some work that needs to be done around the county that all the county taxpayers benefit from, but there's others that benefit more from it, and that being such as some sidewalk improvements, upper lot paving. We have some work up at the animal shelter we were just talking about earlier here. They were very fortunate to get a grant to put a shed up there and improve the animal shelter, but we need to do additional work up there for parking lots and moving some dirt and that around, and that money has to come from somewhere, and that's why we're looking to generate money, generate revenue there, and that side would come out of the parking lot revenue, or at least look at that, and that helps us offset that. If you continue to take from the parking lot to operate the county, there's no extra money to do the projects that come up along the way that just seem to happen. The other thing we are doing is to try to cut costs. You're gonna say, well, it's always great to tell us how you're gonna spend money and find money. Cut costs, we're gonna take a serious look at all the vehicles we have in this county. We do have a ton of vehicles. We are gonna be going through the fleet. We do have a meeting with our leaser, and that, who we lease from, and that is coming up in March. And we are going to discuss entirety, because Rocky did bring a point out, and you've heard it in the past, it's not the first, and you've heard it from Wayne. We do have quite a few vehicles that we do need to address, how they're used, where they're used, and how many we actually need. I think our lease agreement for vehicles on a monthly basis is a little over $19,000 a month is what we pay in lease payments for vehicles. A county this size, that needs to be addressed, and we have agreed to address that. With that, I would open if anyone else has comments. The other point I want to make before I move on to that is there are two new positions that have been created under that. Those two new positions is one would be for a grants writer or overseer. This county has gone long enough without someone overseeing grants. Every meeting we've been at in the last year or last month for me, everyone wants to help and get a grant. Everyone wants to write a grant, but there's no one to give any guidance. We are missing out on millions of dollars over a course without grants. So both Wayne and I, and I'm sure Rocky, agree that that investment is needed there. I would hope that Rocky, when it comes time to, I don't know where he is with the no here, but we do need money to pay for that person, and that person should be able to make their money up in no time, just in writing grants and advising those who still want to write grants. It'll cut down on a lot of time, and we'll know exactly what we should apply for or shouldn't apply for, and the proper way to weight it. So that's a position that we've been doing without here for many years, correct, Wayne? The other thing that should be noted is this county's making a $10 million investment in open space. It's a lot of money for a small county. We do need to get an open space coordinator, works together with the planning office and along with planning and development farmland. So we're trying to get a job description together for both of those positions that would oversee this $10 million. We've reached out to other neighboring counties. We've had some people that are agreed to volunteer their time. But with a $10 million investment coming from the taxpayers, it's got to be done right. And that's why we need someone to oversee that area. It may not always be a full-time just that, but it will be spread off in an area in the department, hopefully planning and development, that we can work all of that. So those are where we stand with that. Other than those items, it should be noted that the only thing that was increased, other than that, in the line item from the original budget, is we added an additional $77,000, and that was for some things that were cut, that was furniture upgrades and along the line.
If I might, I would like to go back to those two new positions, because we do not have the expertise in writing grants or a good tracking system or coordination of grants. We have just lost over $50,000 in grant funds because they weren't properly administered or watched. So those are one of the issues we need to address. And as far as the position for open space, realize this past year, we also instituted the home repair program with additional fees in the Recorder of Deeds office, and that too will take up additional time. We have the farmland preservation programs. We have 5 farms right now that are pending for open space and farmland preservation, and various other duties of the planning office. It's just extremely overwhelming, and we cannot afford not to do some of these positions, especially the open space and administering that program.
Anything further? Hearing nothing, move on.
Report of executive sessions held.
There were none.
Budget transfers as listed on transmittal.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
There were no supplemental appropriations. Approval of payroll check number 75716 through 75728, and direct deposit check numbers 6061199 through 6061663 for payroll paid through the payroll fund checking account for all county funds totaling $718,548.66. Payroll dated, sorry. Go ahead. Payroll dated January 26, 2024.
Motion ratified.
Second?
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Approval of check numbers 241411 through 241483 for expenditures through the general fund clearing account totaling $529,854.93.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Treasurer's report.
Motion approved. Oh, second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes. Recess for the salary board?
Approval of the minutes of the salary board meeting held January 2nd, 2024, and reconvened January 11th, 2024.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes. Are there any guests concerning salary board business? Hearing none?
Okay. Report of executive sessions held.
There were three, one on January 29th at 9 a.m., one on January 29th at 1 p.m., and a third on January 30th at 9:30 a.m.
Under the Area Agency on Aging, change the rate of one aging case aide from $14.13 per hour, grade 2, step A, to $15.21 per hour, grade 2, step D, effective January 1, 2024.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Change the rate of one part-time senior center operator from $14.13 per hour, grade 2, step A, to $15.21 per hour, grade 2, step D, effective January 1, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Change the rate of one part-time senior center operator from $14.13 per hour, grade 2, step A, to $15.21 per hour, grade 2, step D, effective January 1, 2024.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mrs. Arner?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman, I'm sorry.
Don't put a third Mrs. Honor in.
Sorry, Mrs. Herman. Yes. Mr. Harner.
Oh, God, yes.
Mr. Notstein.
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco.
Yes.
I quit, okay. Abolish the positions of 2 fiscal assistants at Children and Youth at the rate of $16.35 per hour, grade 5, step A, effective January 1, 2024.
Motion approved. No.
Second?
Mrs. Herman.
Yes.
Mr. Arner.
Yes.
Mr. Notstein.
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco.
Yes.
Establish the position of 1 fiscal technician at $17.17 per hour, grade 6, step A, effective January 1, 2024.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mrs. Herman.
Yes.
Mr. Arner.
Yes.
Mr. Notstein.
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco.
Yes.
Corrections facility, change the rate of 1 assistant deputy warden from $30.57 per hour, grade S8, step L, to $27.70 per hour, grade S8, step H.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Planning and Development changed the rate of 1 administrative assistant from $24.86 per hour, grade 7, step N, to $18.03 per hour, grade 7, step A, effective February 5th, 2024.
Motion approved.
Second? Thought I'd give Kayla a chance to.
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Abolish the position of 1 administrative assistant trainee from $18.03 per hour, grade 7, step A, effective February 5th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Under tax claim, change the rate of 1 administrative assistant repository specialist from $21.46 per hour, grade 5, step L, to $18.50 per hour, grade 5, step F, effective February 5th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Mrs. Gentile?
Morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to change the rate of one first deputy from $27.75 per hour, grade S5, step N, to $28.44 per hour, grade S5, step O, effective February 5th, 2024.
I'll second.
Mrs. Gentile?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes,
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Change the rate of one second deputy from $23.99 per hour, grade 4, no step, to $24.59 per hour, grade 4, no step, effective February 5th, 2024.
I'll second.
Mrs. Gentile?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes,
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Ziegler?
Good morning.
Morning.
Change the rate of one chief deputy from $26.38 per hour, grade S7, step H, to $27.04 per hour, grade 7, step I, effective January 1st, 2024.
second,
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
yes,
Mr. Sifranco?
Yes.
Change the rate of one administrative assistant from $14.33 per hour, grade 3, step A, to $15.06 per hour, grade 3, step C, effective January 1st, 2024.
Second.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman?
No.
this question, is this under the union negotiations?
So as we discussed in the executive salary board session, my motions for the next three are based on those being passed during last year's salary board, but we're not funded,
We're
so
not
I'm asking
funded,
that
so then
they're
for
being
your-
funded
Okay.
for those three positions.
Okay.
Are they the same individuals that were there at the time of the?
They are not.
Oh, okay.
Then, no, we did not pass that for those positions in the courts, that if those people left, it did not change.
So I mean, I still make the motion, so,
Yeah, and those are the three. This was the one where it isn't the same, that's not the same people. Yeah, so that's,
Are you keeping with the second?
well, I
You
don't know
gonna
if I
vote
could-
against it
if I
now?
can change my vote, but I mean, it would have been different if somebody would have been there for the position.
I agree with that. I would agree with if it was the same person, but if
Yeah,
it's a
if
different
it's the
person,
same.
then, no. That was the stance we took with the courts.
Yeah, because the new person would have went back to the A automatically anyway, correct? I mean, here, they would have went, yeah, so, I'll change that to no if I can. I mean, I don't, well,
See, you'll learn to keep your mouth shut.
He only seconded the motion. She said yes when they pulled forward. I said no.
She said no.
Oh, he
No.
hasn't,
He did not
No,
say.
didn't
so you can vote against your motion.
So he didn't say nothing.
yeah, but the previous
What?
item, is the previous item the same thing?
for the chief deputy, no, that person has been in that position.
That one I was okay with. That's the
So then this is for the
administrative assistant.
administrative assistant.
The next,
Okay, so then I will say no to that, since it is,
when it comes around.
a different person in that position.
You have to poll the board yet.
Start over?
Well, no, you have, you have a motion, there was a second.
Okay,
The
so.
vote, the only one who voted so far was,
Yes, sir.
Taylor.
Dan,
Okay,
oh, yeah,
okay.
now you can
So,
vote,
Mr. Arner,
No,
Mr. Notstein,
no,
Mr. Sifranco,
no,
Change the rate of one civil process clerk from $13.65 per hour, grade 2, step A, to $14.34 per hour, grade 2, step C, effective January 1st, 2024.
I'll second just to keep it moving. I guess we could let it die, but I'll vote on it.
well, this is the same situation as the
Yeah,
one
no, I'll
above.
second it anyway.
Correct.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mrs. Herman,
No.
Mr. Arner,
No,
Mr. Notstein,
no,
Mr. Sifranco,
No,
Change the rate of 5 special deputy sheriff trainees from $16.35 per hour, grade 5, step A, to $17.61 per hour, grade 5, step D, effective January 1st, 2024.
I'll second that.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mrs. Herman,
Yes.
Mr. Arner,
Yes.
Mr. Notstein,
Is this,
They're part-time, correct?
Right, it brings the rate up to the same starting rate as the full-time, as close as we could get it, because they're doing the same job.
Not union then,
They're not union, correct.
okay, yes.
Mr. Sefranco,
Yes.
Change the rate of one solicitor from $3,200 per annum to $5,000 per annum, effective January 1st, 2024.
Second was a discussion, I did request if you could come up with the amount of hours that or any solicitor, or department head or elected official requested an increase for solicitors. I would really like to see, some kind of timesheet so we know that it is justified in, your request.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any solicitor completing a timesheet as the process. I did reach out to my solicitor who was on vacation this week. He is going to work on putting numbers together in some way to give a comparison. So if this does not pass, once we have that information, I can submit it and we can discuss it further at a later date. However, as many people know, for the last 2 years, we have gone to an online, web-based sheriff sale process with Bid for Assets, which has significantly increased our sales, the amount in our sales, therefore increasing the work that the solicitor does to manage and assist us to manage that process.
Yeah, and I don't think it's any problem if somebody's working extra. We have the documentation, we either table this or just, you could bring it up the next salary board meeting again.
Right.
I don't think that without the information, I think that's where we stand on that. I mean, maybe it does justify for 5,000, but without having him, I mean, does he work 10 hours or 100 hours? You know what I mean? Like, what is he working?
I'm happy to rescind the motion and table it
Yeah.
until we have that information to discuss at a later date, and then whether that be an executive session or not, and then make a decision going
Okay.
forward.
No, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you, Sheriff.
You, does he have to make a motion, rescind?
No,
No, you're just withdrawing,
Just,
so till next
sure.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, the first motion, you didn't read?
No.
I didn't read the first motion until we went through all of those other motions,
Okay.
because I never got an updated R10 exhibit with those new rates on it.
So that would be pending as well.
Yeah, you would.
So I think once we get
So
it,
if you make that motion, then all of these can go off of the original motions. The original motion was for 2024, and then these motions are on top of what was in the original R10.
so my motion would be to accept exhibit R10 with the motions and rates that were passed in today's
Right.
meeting,
Budget.
salary board
That's
meeting.
what I agree with.
Okay.
So that would be my motion. I think that would cover it, right?
Yeah, if you make that.
And then we'll just get an updated schedule on 10. We're good for that.
And I'll second that.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mrs. Herman,
Yes.
Mr. Arner,
Yes.
Mr. Notstein,
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco.
Yes.
Thank you.
Judge?
Morning.
Morning, Your Honor.
Court moves to change the rate of one chief juvenile probation officer from $34.51 per hour, that's grade S12, step I, to $39.04 per hour, that's grade S12, step N, effective February 5th, 2024.
Second.
Judge Surface?
Yes.
Mrs. Herman?
Yes.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I do believe that we're gonna need to go into recess because there were some items that we had discussed that will need to be done. So I would ask that we recess the salary board for 2 weeks. And that'll give us time to address those other issues. Anything further? With that, we will reconvene the commissioners' meeting. Personnel reports.
Personnel report for county departments.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Acknowledgements for courts and row offices.
Acknowledge.
Mr. Arner.
Yes.
Mr. Notstein.
Yeah.
Mr. Sefranco.
Yes.
There was no correspondence received. So on the Area Agency on Aging, Title 19 Medicaid Grant Agreement for approval and execution, amendment to the Title 19 Medicaid Grant Agreement between the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services, Pennsylvania Department of Aging, and Carbon County Area Agency on Aging to provide federal and state funding to the Aging Office for provisions of the Pennsylvania Department of Aging Services, extending the term to June 30th, 2025. Subject to the availability of state and federal funds, the maximum grant amount will be $299,499.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yeah.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
State food expense and data for acceptance, fiscal year 2023-2024 state food purchase program second quarter expense and data report as submitted by Shepherd House Incorporated to the Department of Agriculture.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yeah.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Okay, for the solicitor's report, back to the Agency on Aging, seeking a motion for approval and execution of a renewal of the Hospital Community Showcase Agreement between the County of Carbon, Area Agency on Aging, and Innovative Medical Media for a 20-second advertisement. I would just add that's per 6-minute cycle at St. Luke's Hospital, Carbon Campus, on surgery waiting LCD screen commencing on April 1st, 2024 for a period of 12 months ending March 31st, 2025 at a monthly rate of $165 plus a monthly tech fee of $35 for a total monthly fee of $200, and a $200 security deposit is required within 15 days of the contract execution. This represents no increase.
Motion approved. And
Second.
execute.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Seeking a motion for approval and execution of Amendment Number 1 to the agreement dated May 1st, 2020 between the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture and the Carbon County Agency on Aging for participation in the 2020 Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program to amend the terms of the agreement to account for changes in the program's administration required by federal regulations or policy. Total of $1,500 is available to benefit Carbon County senior citizens. The termination date for this agreement is December 31st, 2024, and in all other respects, the agreement dated May 1st, 2020 is ratified and confirmed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
For the animal shelter, seeking a motion for approval of a declaration of February 2024 as Love a Dog for Life Month, and a reduction of the adoption fee from $100 to $50 for the month of February 2024.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
And lastly, Josiah White Park, seeking a motion for approval and execution of request for the use of the gazebo in Josiah White Park by God's True Vine International Church of Creskyville, PA, to spread the gospel through music and preaching. This would be on March 10th, 2024 from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Motion approved and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Sefranco?
Yes.
Is there any further business?
Hearing none. Commissioners report.
Commissioners reports? Mr. Arner?
The only thing I have, I think the food bank, in Jim Thorpe, will be this Saturday. And they will be moving from Memorial Park, or Memorial Hall, to another location next month. I don't know if they're gonna provide space, in the future at Memorial Hall. I think there's like something being worked out that they might be able to use the freezers up there and still continue using that, until this is, I can't say if Jim Thorpe Borough is not kicking us out. They're doing renovation work, and we knew that they, had to be out of there to find another location until the renovations is done. but I'm not gonna give a location. I know where it is, but if I give a location, everybody will show up there this Saturday instead of the next month, so I'm not gonna give I have the location where it's gonna be. And, and I have to, on top of that, Sergeants, Incorporate, they're gonna provide a space for us, so I wanna thank, them for doing that for the upcoming months. And that's it.
Mr. Osstein?
Yes, a couple of quick announcements. We got notified this morning that the AARP tax aid volunteers are ready to help you with your 23 tax increases. Well, maybe you already got it. I'm not gonna read through everything, but it's in cooperation with the Carbon County Area Agency on Aging, and they're gonna be available to help those with special attention on the 60 and older groups at the various senior centers throughout the area. There is a toll-free number for your help, and the dates and times are listed on the announcements, which we'll have posted, okay? The other announcement I have is a trail closure of the DNL Trail will be closed at milepost marker 102.42 and mile marker 102.93 from February 5th until spring of 2024, while 2 canal overflows are reconstructed. They constantly get washed out every time we get heavy rains. Unfortunately, there's 3 sections that need the work, but due to lack of funding and the cost of doing just those 2, what was it, $200,000. So just for public safety, I wanna give everybody the heads up about the closure while they're repairing the trail. So, and that hopefully won't be too late in the spring when that project is completed. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and which is something that's really, well, first I'll mention that the County Commissioners Association government priorities for 2024. Doesn't mean we aren't gonna work on other projects, but I've talked to you how many times about the 911 funding, and the reauthorization was not near enough. And part of the problem, you know, I know they are looking at consolidation and use of funds and that, but at the same time, the projects they're talking about are also going to increase the cost of the 911, such as they want us to implement more dispatching with the 988 system and want more of that, and being involved in the intercept program and the problems with cross training, and that is the training of the dispatchers to properly help the people that call 911. We do have an 988, which is located in the Monroe, but a lot of the calls we get are in Carbon County. And working on with Gary Williams and the staff at 911 on getting them online training on how to deal with mental health calls for diversion programs. A lot of times the police will be responding to these incidents, and most of them, the police in the county are trained on mental health first aid, and trying to divert those that are really in need of mental health assistance and getting them into the proper places before they're taken to jail and become part of the system. Now, I'm not talking felonies or anything like that, but the misdemeanors, littering, different things that these people create. So it's to get them the proper help that they need before they wind up in the institution and into the system with magistrates, courts, and everybody else involved. So it goes back to the county, mental health base funding. We did get an increase this year, but it didn't cover what the decrease was in 2012. So that's another priority, and I can hopefully address all these in greater detail at a later time. The inmates, addressing inmates with mental health. There have been times that we've had inmates in there on a waiting list to go to Allentown State or wherever, and they've been on that waiting list for a year. And in the meantime, we're paying for them in the county prison, and they're not getting the help they really need. And a lot of times they get a lot worse sitting in our county prisons because we don't have anywhere to take them or send them to. Before I get into the next one, right to know law reform, it becomes quite burdensome for the staff here in particular, our right to know officer, when we're getting requests from, we don't mind, we're open, but a lot of companies and businesses call up want all kinds of information on how they can increase taxes or whatever they do, different businesses, and really do not pertain to the proper, I guess, what's the proper wording, our solicitor could probably elaborate more on that one in a future date, but it's really time consuming. A lot of times there's no charge for it. Sometimes we can deny them because we simply don't have the information, but they could file appeals and it gets very time consuming for our staff. They are looking at the Act 77, the elections. They do have a special committee for that, vote by mail reforms and other issues. Broadband access and development, that's an ongoing issue. Juvenile detention is another issue with capacity crisis and nowhere to go with our juveniles. But one of the things I want to bring up is the increasing prevailing wage threshold. Currently, it's $25,000, which was set in 1961. By today's standards, that would equate to $250,000. So it's costing the taxpayers a lot of money when they're doing smaller projects, less than 100,000, I'll say, and it doesn't take much anymore to come up with, have to pay the prevailing wages. And I want to give you a real good example from Carbon County here. If you remember what we went through with the Peaceful Nights, we had a grant for $160,000, we had another, $63,000. We had another 15,000, and this is the second round because the bids came in so high, was $210,800, and because of that, the facility would have had to come up with approximately $32,000 more. Well, this is the projects that we're talking about. It's not only this one, but other small municipal projects that it's costing the taxpayers thousands and thousands of dollars every year. Now, because they have to go by prevailing rates, they don't have the money to do the upgrades for the shelter, to place women in the shelter as well. So now we lost the funding for that, and we don't have a shelter. So one of the big pushes in our state, or the county's commissioners are pushing, and I would assume that the Association of Boroughs and Townships would also be on board with this and getting that increased no less than that $250,000 for bidding or prevailing wage, because if it takes them another 10, 20 years, we know that inflation is going to keep going up. So that's a big ticket item, a big money item, especially with all the projects. Well, a lot of our projects over that $250,000, but we do have other projects that are a lot less, and we have to go through the process and pay those higher wages, and it's quite costly to all these entities. So that's all I have for now.
Mr. Franco.
Two quick, one is it should be noted that the courthouse renovations are progressing. They are on time, and hopefully we get that wrapped up soon, but everything is progressing as it should be. We've had numerous meetings with our contractor, and things seem to be working well, and we're currently staying within budget. So that can change any time, but it's not a fun thing, but we are working on keeping that within budget. And I'd like to thank both Rocky and Wayne for getting me caught up to speed with that, and specifically Rocky with some of the adjustments he has made to get things done and get it moving and stay within that budget line. So I publicly like to thank you for that. The other one is the election location. There's some election locations there's one in particular that will change, and we don't want to fault Jim Thorpe Borough for this, but the first and second wards, or first districts in Jim Thorpe always had voted at the Memorial Park building, because there is renovations going on over there, as Rocky had spoke earlier, they will not be able to vote there. So, Wayne Spanks, for his idea on this, he came up with, the Fairview Hose Company, which is now the Anoka Station, or the fire garage on the east side. And, we are currently working with the fire company and getting agreements that all three districts will vote at the Fairview, or the Anoka Station, this coming primary and possibly through to November. So once we get that locked down, I'd like to thank Wayne, because he came up obviously with his connection to EMS. He knew where there was some area that we could go that would be handicap accessible. So, we did reach out to them, and that change should be coming once we get all the proper documentation on that. Those are the only two things I have. Anything further? Okay, that concludes the meeting. Off to the press. Amy, you go first.
Morning.
Good morning.
For the Love a Dog for Life, do you guys know how many dogs are up there currently?
Oh, God, I don't know now, you can't.
I know there was just a recent, a number of dogs that have, animals that have been dropped off recently. I'm not sure of the exact number.
So I know they have been hovering right around that,
Right.
that limit. Okay, I'll talk to Tom. With regards to Commissioner Arnold with the food bank in Jim Thorpe, is that only a temporary move? Will they move back to Memorial
Well,
after?
I think it all depends how they're doing the renovating there. It looks like they're, like I said, I think if they're letting them use, and I don't wanna talk for the borough, but it looks like if they're letting them use the freezers and the refrigerators, I would say they're probably coming back. I mean, you'd have to ask the borough, but, I think until they finish the renovations, nobody will really know that. I mean, you'd have to ask the borough what their intentions are, but, I mean, that's what our intentions were, because it's a good place. And actually, the new location we have is a very good place too. So I'll give you that location Sunday after the distribution on
Okay.
Saturday.
And just one last question, actually for Commissioner Arnold again. Why did you vote no on the proposed budget?
I think from the last budget, we addressed the 3.5% for the salaries. I think in contingency, there was money there for these other coordinators and thing. And I think the way I look at it now, we're building our bank account up, and we still, and I mean, they said that, I think the total was $190,000 for employees to have that increase that I suggested. And we're putting all that money in the bank, and the salaries was probably the biggest hot item last year, and I don't feel we addressed that. And the grant writer, I've been pushing for a grant writer for 4 years since I've been here, and this open space coordinator, we need it now, you know. But I felt, you know, we had contingency where there was $400,000 or $500,000 in it, that we could have worked with that. And that's just my opinion. I think, taking money from the taxpayers and just putting it in our bank account is not a good plan. That's, you know.
Commissioner Notstein, I see you shaking your head. Would you like to respond?
Look at the deficit. We're spending over $4 million with this adoption, or tentative adoption, I should say, and we'll have final adoption on the 15th. Well, when you're operating at a deficit over $4 million, we cut that back to from over $5 million by $1.2 million. What are you gonna do next year to the taxpayers? I just can't understand that you can keep operating at a deficit. Mike brought up about the tax revenues, about the appeals, which I've mentioned numerous times. We're looking into probably financing a loan instead of a bond for the open space. Eventually, I keep telling you, eventually, we're going to get pushed into a reassessment, I'm afraid. And I'd like to know where those funds are gonna come from and what kind of a tax millage has to be put on next year when all that money is gone. We're spending $4.3 million more than we are taking in. What is gonna be the balance at the end of the year and the end of the following year? You cannot keep operating without doing anything.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
The only thing I would add to that is, and I did do a lot of speaking on this, no one wants to raise taxes. I think we all sat here and do our best not to raise those taxes. But we currently have 5 unions that we are in negotiation with, that we have to settle. Those employees deserve to be paid and deserve to be paid what they are negotiating. If you bleed all that money out now, where you're getting the money later. And I go back to the same thing. The taxpayers in the county, the voters voted for a $10 million bond or line of credit that needs to be paid back over the course of time. Someone has to pay that. Unfortunately, that's gonna be the taxpayer. If we can't show that we're pulling this deficit down, which we've done here by over $1 million, the rates for that change substantially. Anyone that does any bonds will tell you, if you're not willing to show how you can handle the money, we're gonna get a really, and you can talk to our financial advisor, I'm sure he'll tell you the same thing, Jeff will tell you the same thing. And while Rocky and I did discuss the 5%, I just personally can't pass $191,000 out of that contingency fund. I know Rocky says it's there, but it's kind of like, let's put it in layman's terms, if you go on vacation this year, you have to put money away for next year. We haven't been putting money away for next year. And this hopefully starts to balance some of that. It is bare bones. And I do expect Mr. Arner to vote for the open space coordinator and the grants writer. My only question to that would be, how would you like to fund it? Because you didn't vote for the money to fund it, but you want the position.
And just to go back on that, in the zero tax increase, there was money in there for the contracts.
But you didn't have the money last year to pay for the positions that were voted on for the pay increases. All of a sudden, you didn't have the money then, now all of a sudden you have all this money. Where the heck did it come from?
And there would have been money there if they would, if, I look at it, everybody went through the proper procedures. And money could have been there, and I think that was the thing about it, because everybody else went through the proper procedures, and a certain group didn't. And if that would have been, and then we could have adjusted it, but it just, that was a battle for the whole year. I mean, how do you work on something when 200 or 300 people in the county follow procedures and then a certain amount doesn't? So how do you even adjust for that? And that was taken care of in the first week of January. So if you made the motion to do it, I didn't see where all of this stuff is in this new budget, that's any different than last year. The only thing, if you look at what we're gaining $1 million, and we're taxing the taxpayers, is it 1.2 million or whatever it is? Like, where's all this, that you need that much money? I don't see it.
What I kind
And
of,
I can sit here and argue all day.
right, and I'm not gonna get into that, but the bottom line is this is what was inherited. I wasn't here last year, but I do know when I walked in here, I was looking at a $5.3 million deficit. I'm not blaming any former boards or putting any costs, because that's not what I'm about. I'm about looking forward. I can tell you now, we're at a $4.2 million deficit. That's a $1.1 million cut that we made. We were able to give people raises that they were deserved. We were able to look forward to some of those. We are not gonna balance this budget completely on real estate tax. As you heard, we talked about raising parking fees to help with some of these additional projects that are coming up that we can take from that. Specifically up at the animal shelter, just this morning, there's some work has to be done up there that we could use from that fund. There's work has to be done up top. That's not being dumped on the taxpayers. And so you know, when we look at the rate increase, those rate increases will not take place during the week when the taxpayers of Carbon County are using a lot. They'll be taking place on weekends and holidays, not during the week to hurt the taxpayer. And if they do get not right now, you can sign and you actually get parking for free. So there's, none of that's gonna affect any taxpayer. That's those who are visiting here, using the services of the county, whether it be the train station, the walks, everything. That's what that money's gonna be used to maintain, that the taxpayer's not paying for that anymore. And the other one is, and you've heard it, I heard it last year as I listened, vehicles. It needs to be addressed, without a doubt.
We
And
are looking at policy for vehicle use, taking them home, going out of the area, et cetera.
so in that area, we found a way to raise some revenue on taxes, pass some on those visitors and parking lot, and we're gonna do some adjustments on those vehicles to conserve costs. Mr. Arner don't agree with that? It's fine.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you.
Sorry, quick question. The Lee Heighton building that's being demolished, is there any update on the timeline for that?
Not really,
no.
they all agree, everybody agrees as soon as possible,
like-
was the email
Like yesterday, it
we
should
saw
have
from
been
the,
done. So,
yeah.
And I did hear that there were several cats there. Are you guys working with anybody to get them out?
Not that I'm aware of.
And the grant writer position, is that already being advertised?
No, we're actually looking into it. We don't even have job descriptions for that or the open space coordinator. And, I mean, I was always harping about the grant writer for years, but I think it looks like the open space coordinator is something that we really have to get on to handle our money that we're gonna be, you know, like our bond that we have. We need somebody to manage that, and we do have some connections, if I'm gonna have some calls with other counties, to see if they can maybe partner with us a little bit. We had another resident of Carbon County that does this, that is willing to come in, and help us out with set it up. So I'm hoping within job descriptions, Samantha, you're gonna meet next week on try to settle the job description down that we can advertise it, but, and talking to other counties, putting the program into effect, you have to have that employee, because that employee has to learn as we're learning. So that's probably one of the biggest, I guess, one of the hires that's gonna be very important to us in the next couple of months. Because, I think what we get, the grant that would be matched with the Wildlife Conservancy, their cutoff date is March, well, their application is January to March. So we won't hit that, but we would like to have applications coming in so that we're ready. And there could be people out there that don't want the match, you know, that they're willing to either other kind of funding, to get that. But, so there's so many different avenues, but I think we have to be up and running with a person, like I said, by June. I'm hoping we can do it by June, that we would have a person hired and, get it in place. And we probably, I mean, we could be getting applications through, but probably January would be when, you know, when they could apply for the Wildlife Conservancy, if they don't have it other funding. I mean, we just can't, we could have one property that's only going through there, and the other 9 out of 10 could be getting funding someplace else. But, I mean, just with talking to the other counties, like, we have to have a person in place, you know, cause it doesn't make sense to put, I mean, we're almost finalizing, I think, the policy and procedures. We should have that done within the next week or two, and all the advice I got from all the other counties, you should have that person going through it, because now we're gonna learn, and then you hire somebody in 6 months from now, and then they gotta learn the whole thing back over again. So it sounds a little, that you hire somebody to train them, but that's almost like how this position is, because there's not, I don't think there's really anybody out there unless you steal one or take one from another county, but that's not gonna happen. You know, it's like everybody's taking people from us. And that's another thing, we have to have an appropriate wage for that too, because if we have somebody set in place, we could lose that person. You know, we have to be competitive, I mean, within the dollar, I mean, we can't give, $10 above what the rate is, but we could come pretty close to what the other counties are.
And it should be noted, with, not to tap onto that a little bit, is that's a $10 million investment for open space, and I don't wanna dump all on open space, but we did have to incorporate that into the budget, so that that the salary's there for wherever that may set, and that we're competitive out there and able to keep that person. But in fairness to the open space, there is a percentage of that money that will be able to come back to reimburse the taxpayers back on this end for what we're paying that person. So it's not like you're gonna be paying out both sides. It's gonna be not a complete wash, but it will wash with some of that. and tying all that into a grants coordinator. So, I mean, all you have to do is attend one of our grants committee work, and they do a lot of work here. I commend all of them for the meetings I've been at with Wayne, but they're just looking for direction, and all of that kind of pulls it all together. And in the initial upfront cost, as Rocky will say, Wayne, it is substantial, but in the long run, it should save the taxpayers money, and we should be able to hold this line and continue to pull this deficit down and hold that line on taxes where it needs to be. That we're not looking at those, shouldn't be looking at balancing the budget on the taxpayers' back. They need services that we're gonna provide, but not have to over-provide. And the same goes with the employees, we have to have that there. So that's where all of this comes together.
Okay, sorry, I have one more, but going back to the Lee Heighton building, so it's still privately owned, correct? The county does not own the building?
No, I think the borough now owns
Yeah,
that
yeah,
property.
the borough, I think it's the borough's property now. Yeah,
And it has been deemed unsafe, that's the reason for the demolition?
yeah,
I don't think it'll be too long, depends, after we passed it last week, the contracts and everything have to be signed, the insurance has to be in place, and the contractor has to schedule it, then we don't know what his schedule is right now, so there's some other things that play into it now, you know, like when we award contracts for any contract really, until everybody signs it, make sure they have the insurance when they're doing a project, the bonds or whatever they're doing. It does take some time, could be 3-4 weeks, I don't know, it's just, I don't know how ready the contractor is to do it.
And does the county get anything back for it, or is this just to help with the blight situation?
We're not getting anything back on it.
yeah, and this is almost like, we never owned the property.
No.
Like, this money passes through us, you know, like the money that we approve for them, they apply to our grants that we have, so it's our money, but it's money we get from the state or federal
Allocated
government.
to and most of it's under the CDBG money
Yeah.
that the borough gets.
Yeah.
We don't get it, but we administer it, so we do get a little bit out of that in an administrative fee.
Administration,
I forget what the percentage or the price is on that amount of funds, but I think it was there, it was like, the last 3 years,
Yeah.
3 or 4 years, they've been putting that money aside to do this one project. So, yeah, I guess you can say we do get a little bit out of it, a little bit of reimbursement. It's like any of the other CDBG funds, because our office does it all the time and has the expertise, and the local, especially the smaller municipalities, you know, do not have the expertise or knowledge on doing CDBG funds. We have I forget how many are entitlement, which are the over 4,000 population, which they get. It goes right to the borough, basically, or the township in that population. Those under that amount, all their projects go through the county planning. The commissioners sit down, they put in their applications for projects. They have to be low to moderate income. We try to look at how much maybe a municipality got last year. Not all projects qualify for one reason or another. We try to spread it out the best we can over the years. Some never get anything, and those are the ones we try to do projects for, but they don't always qualify, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years of funding for them to do a project. Stormwater, we look at the priorities that they have, and we try to weigh what is more important and the best way to spend that money, and that for the other municipalities, at least half of them, I think, is about less than $250,000 a year now. And do a stormwater project or something else, it doesn't go far at all. So, and that has been decreasing like everything else over the years, so we get to do less and less.
I haven't seen the building myself, is it like falling down, like is it just in really bad shape?
Well, probably when you come up the bypass, when you look, it's probably the worst building. I mean, it probably is the worst one on the left-hand side, like, you know where the new caboose is? I mean, I think it's pretty much close to where the caboose
Well,
is,
yeah, if you're
across
looking
the
at it
street.
from the parking lot at the Rite Aid there, you can see over a little bit.
Yeah,
And
it's-
the roof is collapsing in areas. There's no windows, the scaffolding, fire escape has been taken off the back of the building. Like I said last week, there's holes in the floors. It is I haven't personally been inside the building in years, but it's been bad for many years. And it's just no heat in it, so it's deteriorating pretty fast now, rotted away and
Like
that.
Bennett's Candy and everything, what was in that building
A
at one time?
restaurant, home restaurant,
Yeah.
Bennett's Candies at one time, I must be old.
When we were
Yeah,
kids.
tell me. I'm sorry. I didn't-
When Dean Phipps was still there on First Street.
Yeah.
That's
Anything further? Very good, that concludes. It'll be.